Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Megaman the Wily Wars. In the last one we started off Megaman 3 and now we're on to the last Robot Master, Snake Man.
The last Robot Master. Again, this guy's stages, it just reminds me greatly of, I can't remember the name, I can't remember the name of the Reploid. I believe it's a Reploid, suddenly, from 02, the snake one.
High leg or buckle.
High leg or buckle. Okay.
I don't know why I remember a lot of the Zero series names, especially from 2, because as you Evolve people especially know, 2 is my least favorite.
Well, sometimes your least favorites can stick out.
I suppose. I mean, I remember a good amount of X6 for a reason.
The soundtrack is good. I remember some of the soundtrack there.
Oh yeah, even some bad stuff has some good stuff in it. Hell, look at Sonic Boom, I think, has some of the best comedic writing, and 06 has one of the best soundtracks. Shadow has nothing good to it at all, though.
Some.
Well, actually, no, it has 2 good cred songs. I'll give it that.
Only 2?
I am all of me. Wait, no, that's the opening theme. Let me think about this for a second. I am all of me and what was the name of the last story cred song? That one. Those are the only 2 songs in that game I like.
Well, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah. Either way, Snake Man stage is one of the more beginner-friendly stages because there's not any really chance for instant death until the very last part of the stage. So if you actually wanted a good first stage, this is a good one, but I wouldn't recommend it purely just based off the way that Snake Man is on his own, but we'll get to that when we cross that. Also, a lot of random snake mini-bosses. This stage was actually in, I forget which one it was. I think it was Mega Man 3 for the Game Boy? Or was it Mega Man 4? One of the 2. And this stage was kind of annoying in that.
There's an instant death chance right there.
Or like I said, it's not till the very end.
I don't quite recall, but wasn't there a Mega Man game that it had like some secrets in there? Or something, or maybe I'm thinking about Shovel Knight.
You're more than likely thinking about Shovel Knight and X.
Oh yeah,
because
X takes you left and you'll find a Dr. Light thing.
I'm gonna go on that topic a bit more in a second, but one thing I do want to mention is that in the NES version, be careful about these little platforms here. The moment in the NES version, the moment that these things rise up out of the platform and grab you, there is a chance you will glitch off them to the side and fall into the pit.
Luckily, this is an emulation. And I'm pretty sure not many people will be playing an original Nintendo Entertainment System by this point.
Well, not with that NES reflex thing or whatever thing coming out.
Well,
Mind you, that doesn't have Mega Man 3 on it. It only has Mega Man 2, and that pisses me off.
I thought Mega Man 2 was your favorite in the original 3, wasn't it?
In the original 3? Probably. It's either that or 1. Either way, Snake Man here is tricky, because first off, his pattern is very simple. He only moves left to right, jumping when necessary, and fires out some snakes, but the thing is about him is that his touch damage does about 1/3 of your health. And that's the only reason I can't really fight this guy first, because I cannot avoid him well enough.
Well, there is death number 1.
He's weak to the needle cannon, or whatever name it was, but, not a fan. Also, one thing I should mention...
Can you use the needle cannon effectively?
Well, it's basically just another Mega Buster, so yeah. One thing I should mention, though, about the stage's theme is that there is a game out there by the name of, and I know I've mentioned this in the original LP, Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, which came out for the series' 25th anniversary. And a lot of the stage themes in that are remixes of Mega Man tracks mixed with Street Fighter character themes, and Snake Man's was actually the remix of Dhalsim's theme.
Haven't you mentioned something about fighting Akuma if you get all the themes or something like that?
You fight Akuma if you get perfects on all the boss fights, meaning you beat them with your health maxed, which is a lot trickier to do than you'd think.
Surely. It's Street Fighter and Mega Man we're talking about, of all things.
And there's that in the fact that some of the bosses in Street Fighter Cross Mega Man are really dickish with some attacks. Either way, for beating Snake Man, we get that snake he was shooting out. That is Snake Shot, or Snake Shooter, rather. It's more or less the bubble lead from Mega Man 2. You shoot it, it goes to the ground, and then it follows it. However, unlike the bubble lead, it'll actually go up any walls it comes up to. It can be rapid-fired pretty effectively, but it's not that effective. What in the name of what is going on? You see, Mega Man 3 has a bit of a second half. before you go to the castle, you have to go through 4 retreads of stages we've already been through. Spark, Needle, Shadow, and, oh crap, who was the 4th? Let me look at this really quick. I need to think.
The one with the crystals? Or the Final Fantasy 4 crystals?
Gemini Man. There we go. Thank you. And these are actually fairly simple stages. In layout, they're almost exact. They're not exactly the same as their originals. They're usually kind of tripped up to the fact that you now should have all 8 weapons and such. Like, you need Shadow Blade in order to get through that without getting damaged, obviously. So, for the most part, it's not that hard. The big source of difficulty comes from the fact that each level is now going to have 2 boss fights. One at the middle, one at the end. We'll see what those are later on.
So, it's the same boss. So it's not a mini boss and then an actual boss. It's the same...
In terms of story, you need to fight them both no matter what, because they're technically... In Mega Man 3's case, it's never quite certain on where this character came from. The comic does go out of its way to explain it the origin, but in this, they're just kind of there, so we have to kill them.
So you don't get the full story until you... Yeah.
Mega Man's story has never been the strong point. The only time I think Mega Man's had a good story are in the comics and Zero ZX, all that kind of stuff, and the RPGs, obviously. Either way, the bosses that we have to fight in the middle and end of each stage are this guy, Doc Robot. And Doc Robot likes to take the abilities and patterns of the Mega Man 2 bosses. The first one we got here is Metal Man, who does the exact same things Metal Man did. Jump and throw metal blades at you. However, the thing is, these bosses are usually a bit tougher because their sprite sizes increase, and I think sometimes they even do a bit more damage. However, they each have 2 weaknesses to compensate for the fact that you could fight any 2 in any order you want. Metal Man is weak against either the Magna Missiles I was just using or the Hard Knuckle.
Wouldn't it make sense if he would be weak to Spark Shot because metal?
I guess, but I could see why they did what they did. Also, don't die immediately after that boss fight, because the checkpoint isn't until right here.
That sucks.
In every Doc Robot stage, the checkpoint is until after the first Doc Robot fight, so you have to make sure you bring your A game for this. And honestly, I'm not a fan of this stage system. Doc Robot is a fun little concept in of itself, but I don't think it should have been required to beat the game. Maybe if it was like a hard mode exclusive kind of thing, I'd be perfectly fine with it. In fact, I'd actually really support that. But as it is, not a fan. Though, points to the Wily not the Wily Wars comic, the Archie comics for making Doc an acronym for something. It stands for Diverse Operations Circuit Robot.
That's...
In case you're wondering why... Oh, go ahead.
Doc Robot? Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
No, whoops, I messed that up. You got the DOC and then you added Robot, and I was like, wait, that's DOCR Robot. But then I saw how redundant that last part was.
Before I continue on that topic, next version of Doc Robot is my least favorite one, which is why I went this stage first. Quickman, weak to Gemini Laser or Search Snake. The biggest problem with this is that, as you might remember, Quickman's fast and jumps a lot. However, you can jump over him fairly easily in Mega Man 2. In this, not so much because his sprite size is increased by at least a good half body. So this could actually be a pretty tricky fight, especially because his main weakness that I always use, Gemini Laser, is slow. However, if you stay point blank, it should take him down fairly quickly. Now, as I was saying, Doc Robot, that's actually a bit of a joke we couldn't get back in the 80s, because it was lost in translation. Doc Robot's name in Japan is Dokuro Roboto, which more or less directly translates to Skull Robot. So, it was just lost in translation.
Oh.
Dokuro, Doc.
Right. Okay, I got it.
80s translation. There was never... I don't think I can think of a single game from the 80s that had a completely solid translation and localization.
Do you think even now there are some that have some kind of issue still?
Well, some people get on it for censorship and changing things, but that's the point of localization, changing things that some people wouldn't get in other areas so they can be gotten. Like, not many people in America would get a joke in an RPG that refers to some 1970s Japanese actor, so they'd probably change it to be someone from our 70s. And that's something that's always bugged me about communities and such, yelling about that, especially with stuff like the Shin Megami Tensei stuff, like Fire Emblem, what's the name? Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I've seen some people complaining about stuff in that. Which I still need to get that.
When you started talking about the celebrity thing, I immediately thought about when Malo tells Mario, "What do you think you are, Bruce Lee?"
Yeah, like I think that was actually a changed reference from the Japanese version. I'm not entirely sure about that because I have not played Mario RPG in years and never in Japanese for obvious reasons. So yeah. Either way, first docked robot of the Shadow Man stage, which is barely changed by the way, is our good old friend Woodman. Weak against Needle Cannon and Search Snake. I recommend Needle Cannon just because it's a lot quicker.
Big Woodman. Sorry.
Oh my.
I mean...
this is actually one of the easier refights just because while the sprite of Doc Robot itself is bigger, you can still jump over the leaves no problem. It's just getting close can be dangerous.
Now that's his down B. I can see that.
You're just trying to spot all the things that they brought in for Smash, aren't they?
Yeah.
Aren't you? That's going to be a bit hard because some of them weren't until 4, 5, and 6.
Well, the flame sword, I think his forward air is from Mega Man 8, so that much I know. But
yeah,
we found
Flame Sword.
we found a couple of them already. We found the Spark Shot, we found this one, we found Woodman, and we found Shadow Man.
And even then, Mega Man 2 had a good amount of them. In fact, about almost half of Mega Man's moves in Smash are from 2. Then a random 6 one for his down smash, which I was made happy by that, obviously.
His down smash is pretty cool. Good death.
This is one of the few sections where Magnet Missile truly comes in handy because these guys are a bit dickishly placed. In fact, you can kill them before they're even on screen, apparently, as I learned there. It's not that bad of a section. In fact, this stage on the whole isn't that hard, but... Yet again, not a big fan of the Doc Robot area. Usually whenever I play the game, I'm playing it obviously on the NES, and I skip this section through with the password.
Cheater.
And I wonder if you can do that in Legacy Collection. It's not cheating, it's just taking advantage of game mechanics.
Still, cheap.
What do you mean I now have 5 more E-Tanks? What? Either way, next Doc Robot fight is against Heat Man. Weak to either Shadow Blade or Top Spin. Needless to say, I recommend Shadow Blade. It's a bit tricky to say whether or not this fight's harder or easier than the original fight against the Robot Master. I think his Flame Charge is a bit bigger, but as you can see, Shadow Blade does such an obnoxious amount of damage to him, it doesn't really matter.
Why are you
also,
blinking?
Mega Man takes a while to warp out in Wily Wars, especially 3, I've noticed. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it takes a bit longer to load the save file system or something.
Oh,
I don't know.
This game needs to have as much runtime as it can. Maybe I can blink, and eventually something will happen.
Padding!
Yay, back to the Final Fantasy IV crystals.
Ugh, I hate this stage. This is my least favorite stage in the game. Admittedly, the Doc Robot stages are harder than the 8 Robot Master stages in some forms of matter, yeah. But honestly, it's the hardest the game really gets, because from here on out, the game is really easy.
Why do you say that exactly?
You'll see when we get to the blankety blank castle, but it gets ridiculously easy there. In fact, maybe that's why this is required to go through the game. There's no difficulty select, because otherwise the game would just feel too short and easy. And to some extent, they do kind of bring this idea back in 4 onwards by having 2 castles each. But, I'm not sure which. I think I like the 2 castles more because at least then there's more visual distinction.
I don't know. This game feels already kind of long enough as it is because not only are there the 8 Robot Masters, there's 8 Doc Robots?
2 in each stage, yeah. And then about, I think, 4 or 5 castle stages after that. Which, mind you, while the number of bosses is a bit higher, that's almost the exact amount of stages that Mega Man 4 onwards would have anyway.
Good song here.
Oh yeah, Mega Man 3's soundtrack on the whole is glorious, and I think Wily Wars did it a lot of justice. Some tracks are a bit twangy, as with Mega Man 2 and 1 on this, but I think they do the soundtrack
Also,
enough
this
justice
is,
to be worn.
this
So
is
listen.
probably the first I've seen the Mega Buster actually pierce through walls. I don't remember it piercing through walls like that.
It did in 1 and 2. It's done. It does that through all the classic until 8, I believe. Either way, first Doc Robot for this stage is Flashman. Weak to either Needle Cannon or Gemini Laser. Yet again, I recommend Needle Cannon.
But frame loss is good sometimes because it allows time to escape.
That's not going to matter much against Flashman because first off, he's dead. Secondly, because Flashman freezes time, so
Oh.
it's not going to matter much. Also, fun fact, that right there is one of the few sections in the game where you can be completely stuck. If you don't have rush coil, you will not be able to jump up that thing I just jumped over with him, and you'll be stuck there, meaning you have to soft reset the console.
Why would you not have Rush Coil? In what
In
event?
case you, for some reason, in the event that a player, used all their rush coil before this. It's unlikely, but it can happen.
Gross.
Just like one of the reasons I really don't like the whole way that Pokemon Go handles evolutions, because there is the very, very slightest chance that someone might not get the one they're looking for.
Actually, I managed to find an Eevee with Body Slam finally, so I can finally
that doesn't matter.
I can finally get all 3 of them.
That was disproven.
Oh, really?
It's completely random.
Okay, that is horse.
I wouldn't be surprised, because my friend and I were talking about this on Discord the other night. A bit of a heated argument, almost, actually. That they might have some sort of script that the more of one type you get, it might reduce the chances of evolving into that, but I don't see that being something they do. But either way, I'm not going to get on that topic again, because that was really kind of bad discussion. Next, Doc Robot is Bubble Man, if you couldn't tell by the fact we're underwater and the fact there's spikes on the ceiling. Weak to either Spark Shock or Shadow Blade, so more or less what you would think he would be.
I still don't understand why Mega Man is not getting shocked. He is underwater.
I think we brought this up because first off, this is actually like the 3rd time we tried to record this. Things have gone wrong on both ends, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if when Mega Man changes his weapon, I bet some of his armor composition changes as well, so there's a bit more rubber in it or something to keep him from overloading.
Maybe.
Also, why did I edit out that save? I'm very inconsistent about editing the saves out for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, I guess it does save time, but it also wastes time when you're actually editing it out.
Yeah, but at the same time, that edited time means that that's not time I'm going to have to waste later. Just wait until we get to a certain other game we're going to be doing soon. There's a lot of things I edit out. It'll be about time to get to that.
You'll need a lot of time.
They don't know what we're talking about for another 4 months plus. I think. Because I know for a fact, fun fact, I know for a fact because I was just doing some checking on my videos to upload folder, but I almost consistently have about 100 videos ready.
You and crazy person.
Hey, at least that means I'm always prepared.
I'm not.
It's in this stage, by the way, that Rush Jet really does shine because you're going to be using him a lot, and because of him, you can really break stuff. One thing I didn't mention before, actually, is that if you jump while on Rush, you don't consume ammo when you're not directly on top of him. So you can reduce weapon energy consumption by about maybe a 4th or 5th just by doing that.
Energy efficiency just by jumping on and off the very object of which you are using.
A robot dog. Mega Man's weird.
Well, I mean...
And you're going to want to do that coming up, too, because we're coming up on a fairly annoying section. But either way, coming up on the first Doc Robot for this stage, we now have Airman. Magna Missile or Spark Shock are the way to go. I prefer Spark Shock because it goes straight forward without being distracted.
Isn't this the second to last Doc Robot?
Yes, I think. Yes, it would be, because look at the video time. This is actually one of the few fights I think is easier than the Mega Man 2 incarnation, because in Mega Man 2, there were certain tornadoes you couldn't avoid because they were on the second tile. And you would have to jump over them, but now you can just slide on under them, meaning that it's a lot easier. And this section sucks. This entire, probably really roughly 2 to 3 screen long room is over a bottomless pit from here on out. So if you fall in the pit and die or don't have weapon energy, you're going to be farming a lot of these dragonflies to get some. And that sucks.
Can't you get knocked off of Rush?
Not in this one. Something that can happen, though, and it's a really weird technical error, is that if you're at the very top of the screen, there's a slight amount of wraparound to the bottom. And if an enemy's at the very bottom of the screen and you're at the very top, that enemy can damage you.
Gross.
I'm not sure if that still happens in Wily Wars, but I know it definitely happens in NES.
That is not fun.
Mind you, wraparound stuff like that is very common in NES games. Hell, in Mega Man 1, you could do that to skip some ladders.
I mean, there's also in Contra jumping above the screen, which we all know by this point.
Yeah, I suppose. Mind you, Contra has its own slew of errors, especially when the second player isn't as good as you. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, wait for a few months.
Wonderful.
Either way, this is one of the few stages in the game that has outright mini-bosses in it, and they're two giant Metools, which ZX would actually later revisit this concept, only the thing is about ZX, Kenny, since I know you don't know this, is that that's more in the style of a Metroidvania, Castlevania, Game Boy Advance kind of style, where you can go in almost any direction you want, because it's kind of adventure-like.
Yay, non-linear things.
But the area that you have to go through that is the Metool, that giant Metool respawns every single time you go through it, and you have to go through it like 4 or 5 different times.
Ew.
No, ZX1 had some structure problems, and I think ZX Advent fixed those from a gameplay standpoint, but the story kind of suffered for that.
I mean, heck, I'd be done with the story if I had to backtrack a million times. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy 12.
Ugh. Either way, Final Donk Robot is Crash, man. We either hard knuckle or top spin. I recommend hard knuckle for obvious reasons, but it's very likely you'll run out because you might remember the thing about Crash, man. Whenever you jump, or no, whenever you fire, he jumps. And due to hard knuckle's very slow starting speed, it can be very hard to hit him with. So this is one of the few times I'd actually recommend using top spin. Just don't die while doing it.
1 energy tank left. Do not die, and you died.
This is not my best performance in Mega Man 3, but since it's the Wily Wars, I'll let it slide. If this was a Mega Man game I really cared about on the NES, I would probably restart the level for that.
You would probably restart the level restart the level if you died at all.
Yeah.
Heck, you'd probably restart the whole LP.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know why I'm leaving this in.
You're giving us time to respect this jazzy thing here.
I do love the save theme. I do love that. Either way, now it's time for the climactic showdown with Breakman, who now has a Sniper Joe mask quite randomly, even though if I recall he was supposed to have this from the start. I don't know why he didn't. And he behaves the exact same way. Run and jump. And shoot.
He is faulty.
I don't know why they thought this would be a competent boss. It's really not. Although, fun fact now that this actually does remind me of something, there was actually a mobile port of this game as well.
And
but
bug
I'll get more into somewhat. I'll get more into that next part because next part's gonna be it's gonna be the shortest out of the Mega Man 3 parts, but we're gonna be going through the blankety blank castle, so not gonna have much to talk about in terms of gimmicks.
Oh no!
Either way, Breakman is defeated, so let's go on and report back to Dr. Light.
We can find Dr. Wily.
Oh no, right after we received the last element. Wily, misspelled Wily, by the way, in the NES version, ran off with Gamma. Damn it, he took the giant peacekeeping robot. But with that, we're going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6 of the Wily Wars, we're ending off Mega Man 3.
See you guys.
And